Hey, SoreTvGamer, how you doing? More Silent Hill. This one means a lot to me. On August 12th, 2014, PT came out. PT. I remember my friend called me. James at the time. He called me. I was at Walmart. He said, dude, have you heard of PT? Dude, oh my god, you gotta get a PlayStation 4 just to play PT. What is PT? It's Silent Hill, dude. It's Silent Hill, dude. Dude, I don't want to tell you anything. It's so good. It is the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced. You gotta play it. So, being at Walmart, I buy a PS4. I don't know if it was that day, but I buy a PS4. I think it was. I don't know. So anyway, I bring home a PlayStation 4. Yeah, okay. I plug it in. I download the demo. And I sit down. Now at this point, I knew it was Silent Hill. I just didn't understand what I was getting into. To this day, I look at that hallway. I hear that music. I remember the story. I remember the dialogue. I remember the atmosphere. I remember the graphics, which, by the way, was dialed down. Yeah, I mean, people say that, but look at that. PS4 base is running this. Now, I understand how textures and liminal space and stuff like that, memory and stuff, I mean, it's a whole way on loop, right? But still, there was a lot of thought and complexity going on, and it was doing great on the base PS4. So I'm playing it. I'm walking down the hallway. I'm going through the loops. Now, I do understand that there are picture pieces that I need to find, pieces of a picture. And I guess it's my wife. I don't know. Eventually, I get to the part where I've collected a few things, I guess. I don't know. I see a fetus in the sink. And it's crying. The door in the bathroom that I'm locked in now, I can't get out, and I only have a flashlight. The lights aren't working. But in that moment, I knew this was something that honestly is crossing the line. In every aspect of any horror game I've ever played in my life, this was the moment I said, wow, we are going here. Okay. And I don't have time. The door is trying to open, and what's behind it, I guess, is my wife. I don't know. Now, I can't even see my face. It's all scratched out. The mirror is broken, I guess. One of the two. There's blood in the tub. I'm in a small bathroom. Anyway, the door opens, and it's just like this the entire time. There's just moments in PT. I don't want to spoil it. Go watch a Let's Play of it. Or go play it. There's other ways, I guess. We all know the history, what happened. For those that somehow don't know, Konami took it down on the network, not because of what it was, but because of where everyone was. And that's all I really understand for certainty. Now, the reason why I bring this up is actually because Game Grumps did a Let's Play 10 years later, PT. But I remember listening to the radio in the game. I remember the dialogue. I remember looping it. I remember looping, playing the game over and over again. I remember trying to dissect the meanings behind it. I remember, because of the game being taken down, because of the game never coming out, because this was a trailer that you could play, an interactive trailer, but it was actually good and fun and exciting, and it's very rare, if at all, for this to happen. But there you are on your PlayStation 4 trying to dissect what the game is doing and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, we all know how to get to the actual ending. We all know how to get to Silent Hills. We all know that it's Norman Reedus. We all know Del Toro is behind it as well. I mean, it was just like the three faces that I didn't have attachment to, really. I mean, Norman Reedus was just Walking Dead guy to me. I didn't really care that much. He was my favorite character in the game, but that was about it. Sorry, that's my computer, not yours. Razor Cortex, go fuck yourself. So, Razor Cortex leaves a comment, bro, dude, come on. But okay, I didn't mean it, Razor. Getting back on track here, it was that moment I did get close to Norman Reedus, Del Toro, Kojima. Now, I understand. Look, I knew Metal Gear Solid before I knew Kojima. That was just the thing. I didn't care about that stuff. But because this game didn't come out, that's when I started caring. Before this, the only thing I really cared about were, like, the creators of certain indie games and stuff like that, right? Like Edmund, who made Binding of Isaac, Super Meat Boy, Tommy, who helped with Super Meat Boy, program, not help, the two made it. You get the point, right? You got Phil Fish, you got Jonathan Blow and stuff like that in the game, the movie, and the director's extended edition thing as well, whatever that was. But that's the only time I really put a face to creators and games and stuff like that. You gotta understand, like, I didn't think about that. I thought about the experience, but the experience was taken from me. Now, a lot of people, I understand, it's not like Silent Hill. It's not like Silent Hill 2, 3, 4, you know? It's not even a game. It never even came out. It doesn't even exist. It's not part of Silent Hill. Well, the point of it is the loss. You know, the point of the video is the loss here. Sure, it was first person. Sure, it was going a different route. Sure, Kojima, Del Toro, and Norman Reedus and all that, but you can't deny the fear, the experience, and how it wasn't my introduction. And perhaps this is, like, for many people, this wasn't a introduction to Silent Hill for them. Maybe they already played it. You know, my first experience when it comes to the franchise, my first experience was Silent Hill 4. And you know what? Even though Silent Hill 4 was terrifying in its own right and had a lot of similarities to PT in the future, or PT, you know, maybe was inspired by that, I don't know, with the apartment and stuff like that, and how it made me feel sick and nauseous and stuff like that. I was also 14 years old, not desensitized at all. The scariest game at that point in my life before Silent Hill 4 was Doom 3 on the original Xbox, which wasn't even good on the original Xbox compared to what you could experience on PC if you had the money. But I digress. Doom 3 was my introduction to horror. I had to play Doom 3 because Doom is a huge thing in my life. And thank you, id Software, little side thing. August 8th, you released this new compilation for PS5 and Steam and Xbox and stuff of the, and I think the PS4 and stuff like that. Anyway, you did that on the day I quit smoking, and I didn't even know until 2 days later. Thank you for that. Yeah, 8 days smoke free so far. But being scattered brain and having brain fog right now, it is a miracle. I'm even explaining to you my experience with PT. It is so, like, powerful because, you know, I go on 14, I play Silent Hill 4, I go to Blockbuster, right, and I rent the game, Silent Hill 4, the room, PS2, right, and I bring it home. I remember waking up in the apartment, I go out my bedroom, you hear the scream when you take a step forward to the closet in Silent Hill 4, but you get out of your room and you go into the hallway, you know, and you're kind of getting the idea. I think they explain it too, right, in text, that I just can't leave the apartment. So anyway, I go and I'm exploring, I'm touching things and stuff like that, and then a ghost comes out of the wall because there's, like, some kind of face on the wall, and it's like it comes out. I remember it terrified me, and then it played the music, and I remember saving the game eventually and being able to, like, go and explore the first level and exploring the mental state you're in Silent Hill, how it's my experience of psychological horror. You know, the game is not just trying to be like Resident Evil, it's being its own identity and leaning really hard towards the psychological aspects of things. But was that enough for me to continue? No. In fact, it was too much. I was 14. I didn't even finish Doom 3 at the time, right? And then later that summer, I think because of Silent Hill 4, I was a little desensitized. So I played Doom 3 and finished it during that summer. And then I went to high school. I was going to high school right after I beat Doom 3. Literally like a week before high school, I beat Doom 3. But I still didn't go back to Silent Hill. Now, don't get me wrong. I remember being in high school. That was around the time I tried Silent Hill 4. Sorry if I'm getting the time weird. I remember going and playing Silent Hill 4. I don't know if it was a week before school or right after I beat Doom 3. Maybe it was. I don't know. But I do remember going to the anime convention that I heard about in high school. I don't know, side tangent here, but it's relatable. It relates to what I'm saying. And I remember going to the anime convention because I heard it in anime club at my high school. My friends were like, you gotta go, right? And I go, but I see people cosplay as Henry. I see people cosplay as Pyramid Head and stuff like that. I remember going up an escalator at the anime convention and remembering, oh, you do that in Silent Hill 4. And my buddy Matthew was like, yeah, I had to kill like this worm with like a glass bottle or something like that. My weapons were broken, durability, all this stuff. But even then, with all these experiences, I didn't play Silent Hill 2. I ended up playing Silent Hill 1, but I didn't play 3 or 2 or anything like that. And then PT comes out. Now, of course, like, maybe I messed with Silent Hill 2 at that point. I mean, it's 2014. But it was never really loud. It wasn't like, man, I really want to experience that. Because to me, you gotta understand, I never completed a Silent Hill game at the time. And so I'm sitting there, again, back in my room. I remember in front of like a 32-inch 1080i TV with my headphones on. And I'm watching a YouTube video, kind of trying to figure out what I need to do to be able to activate that cutscene and feel like I completed this horror game. But Lisa, we haven't even talked about Lisa. The antagonist, the issue, the problem, the revenge that constantly going after your neck, trying to terrify you. Not just, she was like a lion and you were a gazelle. And what I mean is, lions like to hunt and they like the process. They're playing games sometimes when they're going after the gazelle. They're going this way, they're going that way. They're playing games and they love the process. Lisa made me feel like this was just like fun for her. And there's no other more sickening feeling, in my opinion, than when something can hurt you. You can pop out of nowhere. It's unpredictable. Can terrify you and kill you. And it's choosing. It didn't feel like AI, this Lisa program in the game. It felt personal. It felt like it had its own thing. And I remember there was some subtext in between loading and stuff like that, where it's like, hey, the game is bugged. Don't upload the game. Don't, all this stuff. It was very interactive. Now, there were a lot of ideas with PT. There were a lot of like, we have like great, Konami would sit and we have like great plans. Here's another cutscene. Here's what Kojima's working on. Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zero, I think is out. And then Phantom Pain comes out, the full game of Metal Gear Solid 5. And I'm starting to connect things. I see like there's some kind of like Lisa thing in Metal Gear Solid 5, and maybe they took it out or something like that. And then there was like the game gets taken out, Kojima gets taken off Konami. They even remove his game or his name in his game Metal Gear Solid 5, and it's all like, oh my god, right? And I think it was a pinnacle moment for us, the players, and people that may play games, but they make games as well, or they make games, but they play games as well. Obviously, most likely you do. If you're going down the path of being a game developer, you must love playing them too, I would imagine. Most of them do, but the point I'm making is that it was a pinnacle point in our lives, because we realized that even though we see it on the store, even though we can play it, we can download it, it can be gone, right? 360, PS3, I mean, that stuff wasn't down. That just happened recently, where like PS3, 360, the marketplace is gone, right? I mean, you can still, and the Wii, but it was like the first point in our lives, and it wasn't even about license, and it wasn't about like, well, it costs too much money to keep this. It was literally like, no, well, we have all this thought, all this time put into this idea, this game. We've created this. There are people, Del Toro, Norman Reedus, Kojima, right? In no particular order. They're all important, right? Need them. All gone. Kojima goes and he makes Death Stranding, which I actually love that game to death, but I can't help but say that because of the experience and the depth that which I went in learning about what happened to this game, that it terrified me, that I finished. I put a lot of time, and I remember like playing the game PT, and I remember eventually getting other people to play it, and that was the best part. People that don't play video games, I got them sitting in front of that TV. I remember, I mean, he played video games. My buddy Orion, I sat him down, and I remember the funniest moment, because it's so terrifying. You have funny moments with your friends. It's fun, right? And I remember, getting that idea too, to play with my friends, not just because my friends would want to, but because I would watch people with their friends play the game. Game Grumps, Scary Game Squad, back in the day, I'm talking OG, mid YouTube, I guess. Felix days, Total Biscuit days, Jesse Cox, The Completionist, and all that stuff. I mean, things were kind of simple there. I mean, think of who I just said. Total Biscuit. I mean, we've lost him, right? And whatever. We're not going to go into controversial stuff, but it was just like, people upload, play the game, and then you check, your YouTube, and it's like, things you cared about, things like that. And I just have so many fond memories of that, watching people play it, and I made my friends play with me, watch their experience. I remember dating this beautiful girlfriend at the time I was with. Her name was Katie, and I remember Katie sitting down, and I'm kind of just walking her through the game, and she sees the fetus and stuff like that, and it was just like, holy shit. Like, did I just show my girlfriend this? And she fucking loved it. One of the coolest things ever is to when people want to, of course, right, experience this. I remember back to Orion, I got him to play it. I remember putting the volume, we were home alone, and I put the volume all the way to max, my sound system and stuff like that. And when Lisa turned him around, don't touch that dial now, we're just getting started. And then all of a sudden she just flipped him because he wasn't pressing X on the picture. It was very trivial. And, her face pops up, and all that stuff. The sound. If you play it, the sound. If you played it as much as I do, the feeling. And, he said, and this is why I love horror games, because of the funny moments, honestly. But he said, my brain released DMT and let me know I was dying. He said, we are dying. He said, my brain told me I am dying. It released the hormones and chemicals to calm me down. And I remember laughing so hard because I legit saw that in his face. And like I said, the volume to the sound system was max. The walls were shaking. My neighbors must have thought about calling somebody. Like, there are a lot of weird shit going on at Sore's house. We might want to call somebody, you know? God forbid they were outside with their kid. Go inside, honey. So there was that aspect. Then there was, you know, and showing friends. And then there was the, you know, I'm one of the few people, I think, like, I know people did this, but I feel like I'm one of those people that that I kept going back to the game, trying to see if there's just something that will explain what happened to the game. Because remember, there was a time we didn't know much about what happened to the game. It's gone, right? So anyway, I my PS4 became very special. It became something that I can't imagine not having, right? And I remember, I think I do it like once or twice a year. I pick it up, dust it off, not just to play something on it, but to play PT, you know. And I look forward to showing it to people in the future, because it's a work of art. And getting back to, well, Silent Hill. Okay, so Silent Hill 4, PT. Where's the Silent Hill 2 stuff? Where's the Silent Hill 3, you know? Well, if you're new to my channel, chances you got here because, like, I talk about Silent Hill 2 remaster or remake, I guess, and my feelings on it, and the excitement that I have and the love, and I'm excited, right? And I owe it a little bit to PT here, even though it was such a tragic way of just grabbing what to me is my favorite Silent Hill, even though it's not even, it's weird to say because I don't agree with it, but it didn't lead anywhere. So a lot of people say it's not a Silent Hill game, never became one. It's just a playable trailer. But to me, that was Silent Hill, because it was my introduction to Silent Hill 2. I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go right now and like go play Silent Hill 2. And so I get a copy. I go to a retro store, and it was that store. I made a lot of friends there, and I go there. They know my name and stuff like that. And that place is like one of my happy places. I like doing that. I like going there. And every fucking time I go in there, I look to see what's there. But the first things I kept picking up were Silent Hill things. Silent Hill 2, 3, 4, Silent Hill Origins. You get the idea. I think that's it, actually. I already had Silent Hill 1. That was one game I bought off the PS3 store. I still want to get the physical copy. But like, I play Silent Hill 2, and I learn about the PC version as well. And my PS2 was broken, stuff like that. So I had to get a hands on Silent Hill 2 for PC. And you know, throughout time with my PC version of Silent Hill 2, there was the enhanced PC version. There was like all this, like, you know, all this love into Silent Hill 2, and I experienced Silent Hill 2 many, many times. But sitting all the way through and beating it, I did it with a CRT and a PlayStation 2, baby. You know, I think I did beat it on... No, I didn't beat it on PC. I loved using the keyboard as well. I thought it was, like, annoying and difficult. I liked it, right? I think you could play with a controller. I didn't care about that. And I remember back in the day, you know what? I remember playing Silent Hill 3 at some point too before PT. Maybe. I think maybe. I don't know. I saw Silent Hill 2 and 3. I think I did play Silent Hill 2 and 3 at one point, but I mean, PT just ignited everything in me, the passion, and it became, because of PT, Silent Hill became my favorite horror franchise in gaming. Before that was Doom 3, and that's a kind of like a spin-off, right? And Resident Evil was always cool to me. It was always cool. It never terrified me beyond a few moments of the GameCube version of Resident Evil 1. One of the first remakes ever made. That was, to this day, still beautiful. I remember playing Resident Evil Outbreak as well. You know, where the fuck is that? Guys, I know you can play that with people right now, but you have to go through all the simulation and shit, I think, and it's just annoying. But Resident Evil Outbreak, they would just do what they did with that, with the knowledge of the way networks work now, but kept it like it was. Like, that would have been great. I mean, why not Konami, just get on that, right? But I learned a lot about Team Silent. Sorry, the withdrawals are hitting. I learned a lot about Team Silent. I learned a lot about the process of Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, 4. And dude, if you're a Silent Hill fan, leave a comment. Let me know how often do you just stumble across a Silent Hill video? It's like a analyst on something about Silent Hill something, and you just, okay, I'll just watch this. Like, literally, like, it is a gold mine. There's so much psychological things going on in Silent Hill, and metaphors, analogies, and there's also, it's interlinked with a place that inspired Silent Hill that actually exists in our world. Am I right about that? Right? I mean, am I wrong? Like, then there was the movie. There was the other movie. You know, but people liked it, you know, but I didn't. I liked the original, though, you know, and there's just so much, and it's a franchise. Thank God it's a franchise I love, because it's such an interesting one. And I think that's why I appreciate it. And I can't just sit here, even though it's August 17th now, 2024, and not mention PT. That happened 10 years ago. 10 years ago. 10 years ago, PT came in my life, changed everything. One of the most successful videos of mine is just talking about Silent Hill 2 Remake. My feelings, my excitement, things of that nature. And I just seriously, to even have a, like, the group that I have, which I'm gonna call a community, but to have that, PT brought it to my life, right? You have to care about something in order to just sit there for now 28 minutes and just, you know, this isn't just like a series to me. This is like, and now I'm gonna get into the personal stuff in my life now. PT, Silent Hill, PT in particular, I'm just gonna be straight up with you. PT, that feeling of walking down that hallway. I can't go into detail about my life, but if you made it this far, I'm gonna give you some. Okay, I grew up where, in my home, you know, sometimes things weren't great, right? Not safe, scary, and sometimes when your home is like that, you do feel isolated, even if you go out and go do things with your buddy Orion, James, you know, you got a girlfriend, Katie, beautiful, you know, at the time, and you're playing these games and you're doing these things, you still don't feel like you're in the same world. And to play a game that, like, made me feel like it's gonna sound weird because my home is not super similar to Silent Hill, but it was relatable. It felt like I was playing a game about me in some aspect. Now, there's a lot of trauma in my life and things like that. and I don't talk about it. I don't want to. When I was younger, I did, but it's not my identity. Playing a game where it's like you are yourself, but you have this, and you face it. Got me going in life. Got me facing things in life. And it's fun and it's safe. It's record. Can't say the word right now. That's part of my trauma. I could used to say all kinds of words, brain stuff. Thing is that playing PT, sometimes I would listen to music when things were shit, and it would just set the mood, and it would tell my brain, we gotta be brave today. We gotta face today, right? We gotta deal with it. And I remember I would write my feelings, poems, stories. I was dating somebody in the future, not in the future, a few years ago. And I said, well, you know, she liked when I wrote. And I said, well, can I write my feelings? Can I write horror stuff? I like writing horror. That's the only few things I like writing, because I didn't like writing. But I could do horror, right? I mean, we're talking to a guy that listened to creepypastas to fall asleep to. And she's like, okay, sure. You know, and she was not a fan of horror, right? She wouldn't play PT. God forbid, I put her in the fetus room. But I appreciated that, and I was able to write horror stuff, and I would listen to what you're listening to is what I would write to. And sometimes I would use it to write out bad feelings, you know. I'm feelings that are like, I'm not safe, I'm not happy, I got nothing but nothing in me left, you know, and I gotta get that out. So like, I need to calm down for a second. 8 days smoke free, but talking about this stuff, you know, if I didn't have Silent Hill, where would I be? How can I relate to a zombie apocalypse? How can I relate to that? I can fantasize. I can't relate. What other psychological game? I kind of related a little bit to Condemned. But would Silent Hill be like, is Condemned kind of inspired by Silent Hill? You know what I mean? Like, the internal battle within yourself, acceptance within yourself, you being your own problem, you doing what you have to do to make things right and being accountable and all this stuff. This is character growth, and that's Silent Hill, isn't it? You know, and when we grab this franchise and we do all this weird shit with it, and I'm gonna be fucking raw with you guys. You do weird shit with it, and you see people's reactions. Now, I'm positive about it. I'm excited about it. But don't get me wrong. I understand exactly where they're coming from. And maybe it's such a, like, surface level of care. Like, hey, the game needs to, you know, hit this mark. Okay, Konami, what are you doing? Things like that. Hear me out. Hear me out. But for people like me, when I see, you know, certain things like I don't even know the name at this point, but the live stream Silent Hill-esque thing, you know, look, I can't sit here and just be like, yeah, I was happy with that. Can I appreciate things in it? Yeah, minimum, but I can, and I'm not gonna focus on it. I'm not gonna get, you know, my anger towards it. I have been holding on to Silent Hill 2 Remake and the feelings it gives me and stuff like that, and you know, getting back on track here, getting back on track. And that's what happens when I talk about stuff in my past. I just want to say this. PT gave me a place that, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, and I've heard people say this before, it's the only place I can fit in sometimes. Let that sit with you. I'm SoreTvGamer, And thank you, PT. Thank you, Konami. Thank you, Kojima, Del Toro, Norman Reedus. Thank you, anybody that worked on the soundtrack, the people that made the soundtrack, the people that made the Fox engine, and the people that made Metal Gear Solid and all that stuff, and just the people that have made videos, the people that support my channel about Silent Hill and stuff like that, the community, the fans, the places I've gone. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm SoreTvGamer. PT. 10-year anniversary.